The Grow My Cleaning Company podcast helps owners of cleaning companies just like you to grow your company and yourself so you can make more money and finally get the time and money freedom that probably got you into this business. Discover how to automate and create systems that allow you to grow like crazy without losing control. If you dig the show and want to show some love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It really helps. Enjoy the show.
Hey, Cleaning Nation, it's Lindsay. I am back with another podcast today. And today I'm kind of more in my podcast producer role. And I have a special guest on with me today, one of our clients, John Gluck. Say hi to Cleaning Nation.
Hey, everybody.
And John's awesome because this is a totally unplanned, off-the-cuff podcast. Getting a little meta because I was coaching John on how to start his podcast for his cleaning company. And I'm like, so here we are. Yeah. So I was like, John, we should just do a quick podcast since I'm already coaching you and maybe it could help other people of what I would do, me, Lindsay, what I would do if I was starting my own podcast for a cleaning company. Like what thoughts would I would go through? So John, give us a little more info about yourself. The name of your company is Generations Cleaning Company, and where are you out of again?
So it's Generations Commercial Cleaning Company. We specialize on the commercial side.
Already screwing it up here.
You're welcome, Mike. Not doing too. So we're located in the Athens area. For those of you that don't know, it's the home of the Georgia Bulldogs. Oh, by the way, they're ranked number 1 right now in the nation. Braves just won the World Series. Believe the Dogs got a chance at a national championship. It's good to be in Athens, Georgia right now.
Nice. So, let's fill everyone in on our little chat we were having. So you are not just thinking about starting a podcast, you are starting a podcast. And let's do some live coaching here. Let's kind of go over what were you thinking about naming the podcast and why? So, and what is it going to be about?
Per our conversation, we were going to call it the Athens Business Podcast, but Athens is known as the Classic City. So I think that's the route we're going to go. I think we made that decision today. Tracy will be proud of me. I've made a decision. It's going to be the Classic City Business Podcast. And
this is a multi-team effort. Tracy's been helping you too.
Hey, listen, a shout out to the coaching team at Grow My Cleaning Company, right? Getting it from everybody. It's going to be geared towards talking to business owners in our area, highlighting them. And we kind of want to do a little bit of a deep dive where it's not just about the business and what they do, which obviously we want to highlight, but a little bit more about the business owner, who they are, what motivates them, kind of the insider thing. I was kind of joking around with you a little bit, but I mean it. If I were to say, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, most of this audience better say cheers. If not, you're not old enough to be listening to this or something. That's just horrible. But,
or you just had bad taste in TV if you don't know
That's exactly right. Because it's a classic, right?
Classic.
Because it was not on when you were born. So you were watching reruns, obviously. Yes?
No, it was on live still. I'm a little older than I think.
Okay, maybe I'm younger than I think. Let's go with that. No, so I was just sharing with you, I think from a consumer standpoint, a lot of times, in fact, not a lot of times, I go to businesses that I enjoy going to that are good at what they do, but they're not great, but I like the people. So I think that there is a value to highlighting the people behind the business, because if we get to know, like, and trust them, we're going to want to do business with them. So that's kind of what we're going to be selling to the person we're going to interview. That's what we want to draw out of them and share with the audience.
Awesome. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here for our audience because we are at, I would say this podcast is kind of like an intermediate level podcast. And I want to always make sure to bring cleaning value to all of Cleaning Nation. Mm-hmm. So if you are sitting here going, what are these people talking about? Why is this cleaning company owner talking about starting a podcast? Actually made an episode about that, my gang, my team, our team will link in the description below about why you'd want to start a podcast for your cleaning company and the thinking behind that. But John here, you are, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from our discussion, you have a sense of you want to reach out to your perfect clients, right? People that you would love to serve, but it's kind of a win-win situation in my opinion, because you could potentially have businesses out there that you want to serve, have them on your podcast, have them as a guest, showcase them, right? And you could offer your cleaning service to them perhaps after the show's over. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it too is, even if they're not your client, and I was saying this before we started recording, even if they're not your perfect prospect, or say maybe they're just not interested in your service, that's okay too to have as a podcast guest, because they're going to get service from it, because they're going to showcase their business. They're going to get clients out of that. It's good for them. It's good for the community. And also they can recommend you, John, and your cleaning company to maybe people that would be your perfect prospects. So that was like one idea we were kind of tossing around was pretty obvious to you, but I just wanted to put that out there for Cleaning Nation. And John, Tracy helped you also with, tell us, if you don't mind, we didn't plan this at all, guys, your Chamber of Commerce kind of approach. Do you mind?
Oh, that's top secret until we launch. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah. And actually, let me go back to what you just said. It totally is a win-win. It is a win-win on two levels, talking about, obviously, it's exposure for that business owner, right? Mm-hmm. And even if the other side of that is, even if I don't get his business, if this business owner has clout and respect in the community, people are going to be listening to that podcast, obviously, to hear him. And if he has a favorable opinion of me, then hopefully, hey, if Bob here thinks this much of a John, I'll be getting phone calls and opportunities just from having that conversation with him, even if he doesn't use me himself. So it is a win-win in that way, no matter what happens, I think.
Exactly. And it's almost like a big referral program, big networking opportunity in a way, is another way I like to think about it. Because you're getting your name out there, your company name, you're learning about your community. There's really no downsides to this plan that I can see, honestly. And if there are, let me know, Cleaning Nation, because I think this is a great way to get your name out there in the business, serve your community. And again, it's a win-win for everyone. So the crux of it all, John, and we were kind of tossing this back and forth, is you were asking very good questions to me, like, how do I start? How many podcasts do I do a week? So all those little things. So I said to John, okay, let me put myself in your shoes. And I've been thinking about this a lot for all of our clients, is if I had a cleaning company myself and I was going to start a podcast, I would do exactly what John is doing here. And also what he spoke about before is that he wants to call it, are we saying the working title is Classic City Business Podcast, right?
Yeah, Athens is known as the Classic City. That's the, Georgia's the Peach State, New York's the Big Apple, Athens is the Classic City.
So Cleaning Nation, you might have this line of thinking too. It's like, well, not everyone's going to know what Classic City means. Like, not everyone's going to just magically know that. And John already knew this because he's a smart guy. But if that is something, Cleaning Nation, I would say don't worry about, because your niche, your target audience knows what that means, and that's gonna be their podcast. Like, I always use Spencer Ward, one of our Millionaire Mastermind clients, as an example, but originally it was the Pocatello Business Podcast. I don't know anything about Pocatello, Idaho, but people in Pocatello knew what the heck that was about, and his podcast took off immediately. So just wanted to add that in there, that I think John's idea is on the naming of it is on the right track. That's what I would do. John also had some ideas, and I won't drop the names of the companies here because that's up in the air, but just the concept of reaching out to businesses that have that niche in their name already, even if they're not your perfect client. Like,
oh yeah, right.
Classic City Classic, I don't know, I'm just making up stuff, like Classic City Diner, Classic City Auto, whatever it is. If you started, John, with recording episodes with those names in it, that would solidify your niche in your podcast immediately. So people, just randomly looking on Apple Podcasts would be like, holy crap, there's a podcast about my town? I didn't even know this. I know this company. I've heard of them. That's my favorite diner. Like, you're already kind of getting some momentum that way. Any questions so far, John? Am I on the right track?
No, you're on the right track. And I was going to say one of the things that you said that is super valuable, because I was talking about metrics and like, well, what can you expect in terms of an audience? And your answer was fantastic. So if you're not going to say it, I wanted to say you were talking about how important to know why we're doing the podcast. It's not for 1,000 listeners or 1,000 clicks or whatever. It's really to get that one-on-one opportunity with the guy you have in front of you that you're talking to. Obviously, we're trying to do business. And as we stated earlier, even if you don't get that business and you are talking to that individual, people are going to listen to the podcast because they want to hear them. And if you have that good relationship with them, there's potential referral that comes out of that. So why are we doing the podcast, I think, is as important as anything.
Yes.
Right?
Your why is definitely important. I mean, it's not just about, oh, this is to help me get as many clients as I possibly can. I mean, it's definitely going to help that, but a bigger why, just like we talk about and why we even started our cleaning company in the first place, right? It's not to become, I would say most people that start a cleaning company aren't like, oh, it's to become a millionaire. It's like, no, it's to serve people, to help my family. So same line of thinking, just to elaborate on that. And John, I just wanted to talk about a few other things that, I kind of discussed with you specifically just to help. And it's a common question I get all the time is, how many podcasts should I do a week? How long should it be? That, very specific questions. And they're all good questions. In terms of how many podcasts to do a week, I would say your minimum for any type of podcast is going to be one time a week. And you want to be very, very consistent. I would say consistency is the most important thing when starting a podcast. I mean, to be honest, any kind of content work, whether it's videos, blogs, whatever, consistency is key. So when you're starting to gear up, you really have to be honest with yourself and say, how many episodes could I really commit to doing a week? Like, what does that work look like? Can I reach out to because if you overcommit in the beginning, I'm not going to say you're setting yourself up for failure. You're just not setting yourself up for consistency. So if you think that I can do 3 podcasts a week, no problem, right on. Awesome. I would say minimum start with 20-minute episodes once a week. I have personally found, and I know Mike does this too, because we practice what we preach, what we peach. I almost said what we peach. It's all this. Yeah.
Georgia's a peach state, so
I see Georgia on your sweatshirt. It's
there
like
it is.
In my mind. But we practice what we preach. We try to keep our episodes to about 20 minutes. It's just a sweet spot we found. The other thing that John just touched on that is so important in Cleaning Nation is metrics. I'm using air quotes for the people listening because there's vanity metrics and then there's the metrics that matter. So what are vanity metrics? Those are how many downloads did I get? How many people are subscribed? Like, those numbers only really matter if they're your target audience. Like, I would happily subscribe and like and review John's podcast. And in fact, I will. Make sure you remind me to, because of course that'll help him. But what's more important for John is that he gets as many people in his area to like, subscribe, and review it. Telling your family, telling your extended family, businesses that you go to, hey, I came out with this podcast, you might like it. Like, literally just even, I say this to a lot of podcast people that business cards aren't dead. This is a total tangent and I'm just ranting, John. I'm sorry.
That's my job.
Yeah, but it's a good idea too to get a business card once you have your podcast established, especially if you're doing a business podcast, and even get one of those little I forget what you call those codes. You know those codes you scan with your phone? If you
they're QR codes.
QR codes. I was like, Jackson and Jared are going to hear this and make fun of me. But QR codes on business cards that go straight to your podcast landing page are great when you're trying to get the name out there. Okay. Yeah, and business cards are cheap. Like, most companies have those anyhow. So just wanted to add that in there. And John, the last coaching bit of info I had for you too is idea. And you mentioned it briefly off recording, but influencers, they might not be your perfect prospect, but in your case, I would definitely have influencers in your area, whatever that looks like. I think you were talking about, the Bulldogs. Like, what if you had someone from the team on? What if you had the coach on? Like, can you imagine the kind of traffic you would get?
You have no idea what you're saying, Lindsay. If I could get Kirby Smart to do the intro,
people would recognize his voice. I'm just saying, like,
no, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know what the possibilities of that are, but you got to keep in mind too, not just your perfect client, but the people that are going to be listening to the podcast, which are the consumers, the people in your area that are clients of those businesses. So, if I can only imagine if you did had a gym on as a guest, right? I don't know if you clean gyms. Honestly, I don't think it really matters, but if the gym heard that you had one of the athletes or the coaches on, they would be like, holy crap, this is the guy that interviewed so-and-so from the Bulldogs. They're into sports, obviously. They're in fitness with the gym. I don't know. So this is just me ranting ideas. I hope this helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great ideas. It's all about trying to connect people to it, right? Why are they going to listen? This guy's, and actually just that little rant right there actually gave me an idea.
Good.
That I won't bore the audience with, but because it'll mean nothing to them, but it will to my audience. So
awesome.
Write it down so don't forget.
Yeah. So, we just packed a lot of info in. I'm sorry for the rant, guys, but I just thought we were having a good conversation. And again, the precursor to this episode is I'll link it, why you would even want to start a podcast for your cleaning. Oh, that's a good note too, real quick. We're not calling this Generations Commercial Cleaning Podcast. Notice that? It's not really about John. John's making it all about his community and the people he wants to serve. So again, that's all on a previous podcast. I will link it below or wherever you're consuming this material to give you a little precursor. But this was a deep dive today. So John, we are out of time today because I just ranted. Let's end this podcast, John, with, let me think really fast. We were just talking about doing this for your podcast.
Rapid
Tell
fire.
me your most embarrassing moment that's ever happened to you in your life and why.
Oh, wow. I actually shared this story at our first meeting in Nashville not our first meeting, my first meeting with y'all.
Yeah.
Can I do this in 30 seconds?
Way
back in the day, I was a head custodian for a school system, and it was the holidays. I was stripping floors by myself, and I spilled some of the stripper on myself, and it will burn you. So I literally had to strip down to my birthday suit. I went into my office at the time, and I had a washer and dryer in it, and I was washing the clothes, and I was butt naked in this elementary school, by the way. And I had to put a trash bag on to cover myself. And I thought, I'm by myself. It's no big deal. And so I went back to the cafeteria where I was putting the finish down. I was doing the work, putting the finish down, minding my own business. And all of a sudden I hear this door slam. And one of the grade teachers, the lead teachers for her hall, happened to have a key to the building, which I didn't even know she had, was coming up to do some work, heard some noise, came in there. And I turn around and there I am in a garbage bag, putting the finish down on the floor. And we'll just have to finish that story on another podcast. But that was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me.
Okay, so
thanks for asking that on a podcast.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh!
This was another thing I was coaching John on, is to make sure you have fun in some way.
This is worth the whole podcast right there. That was it.
Yeah. Wow. That was an amazing story I've never heard, and you and I have talked a lot since you've joined. Yeah. So now, John, we have to hear the rest of the story. So that means you've just committed to part 2 of this podcast, but...
And we'll plan that one. We'll actually have, a list of things we want to talk about instead of jumping.
Well, I want to do a follow-up episode where you get this podcast rolling and kind of like I did with our client Autumn Dell, who you've also talked with.
Yep.
See how it's going. So I hope you will do that. All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much for doing this episode with me. I totally appreciate it. Any last words for Cleaning Nation before we sign off?
Podcast, baby. Podcast.
Podcast, baby, podcast. There you have it. Cleaning Nation. Until next time, I'm Lindsay, and this is John. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, here we are, the end of the podcast, and you made it. Great job. I've got a little bonus for you for sticking through with me, but like I mentioned before, if you got value out of this podcast and you want to show a little love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever the heck you're listening to this thing. Share with a friend, share the love. And as a special thank you for those of you that stuck with me to the end, how about I give you my personal phone number so we can text? It's a great way for me to get to know you, your business, your goals personally. So shoot me a text now, 602-932-6431. 602-932-6431. I am the only one who responds to these texts, and I will personally respond to everyone I possibly can as long as this number is manned. Don't know how long we're going to keep this at the end of the podcast, so grab it now. 602-932-6431. Give me a text, say hey, can't wait to meet you.